Hello, it's Gary Lee Nelson back again from the El Dorado neighborhood of Santa Fe, New Mexico, the city different in the land of enchantment and the home of pretentious place names. We're listening to a sketch for some long-neglected instrumental pieces that recent progress with SonoMorphs and enforced confinement are finally making possible. One of the technical challenges was to get Macs to play instruments that are generally capable of only one note at a time. The branches on the trees in my yard are decorated with many hung notes. I tried various repeat modes for makenote and all the combinations of omni mono settings for the high-numbered MIDI controls. One worked, but it messed up the envelopes of the instruments and made them sound terrible. I'll explain my probably not so original solution in a moment. The strings you hear are from a DGX660 Portable Grand that I manage with a standalone app. I made the app to orchestrate 16 MIDI channels with 554 possible but unlikely instrumental combinations and presets to remember them all. So let's talk about what's going on here. So we have two players, which are pseudo cello and violin one. One of the pieces I'm working on is for strings. And of course, a metronome. This pass percent object is letting only 1 out of 10 of the metronome ticks through to make a random note in the 2 octaves below middle C for the cello and the 2 octaves above for the violin. It's going through one of my objects called pitch sieve, which by default is playing all of the random notes as they come through. Now pitch sieve will receive various, I call them chords, but they can be scales or anything. So let's switch to a hexatonic scale with all the notes, all the white keys except B. Don't want any Diabolus and Musica in my music. Henry Pleasance would love this one. Restful music, as he always had to say. Let's try the black keys. And the enigmatic scale. Oh, I didn't mention that the violin is getting 1 out of every 4 notes, so it's a lot busier than the cello, which is usually the case in instrumental music. My random seed object is ever present, so if I try the zip code from Oberlin, or Santa Fe, and let's continue with some really cool Southern California music. Okay, so now down to this object, GLN Make Mono Notes. I wanted to add a damn it at the end of this, but this was long enough. Let's have a peek inside. So we have the usual make notes with repeat mode 3, which I don't really need in this context. It does what repeat note 2 is supposed to do if you read the documentation. Mode 3 isn't even mentioned. So as the notes arrive, if the velocity is greater than 0, that is a note on, the answer to this question is yes. It sends a bang down to MIDI flush, where the note offs have been connected. You'll read about that. And shuts any note in progress and starts the new one. Then I come back from the MIDI land through MIDI parse, unpack the key and the velocity and the MIDI channel, and so it comes out the other side as a note out. So it looks pretty much like the real world of Macs, the less complicated. And the notes out here are being played on the Portable Grand. Now this note out is actually going to an internal MIDI path, one of my paths called parameter space, and it's ending up over here. The recorder. Well, the recorder has been running all the time I've been talking here, because it started when I started the music, and it will stop recording when I stop. And over here it waits 10 seconds to make sure all the notes have finished and recorded. And then when it's finished, it'll bang that, and just for good measure, it sends a GL all note off, which does everything possible to prevent those hung notes. Okay, now we got a little blessed silence. The reason for doing all this recording is because I want to notate this with Finale. So I'm going to write the MIDI file, and it's going to end up over on my desktop where you can't see it. And I'm going to drag that file. Again, you can't see it. I'm going to drag it over the Finale application. And it's opening. And when it opens, it gives you this. If you're a Finale user, this looks familiar. Okay, the MIDI channels, only 1 and 2. Channel 1 is the violin. Channel 2 is the cello. The lower one has a higher number, so it'll end on a lower staff. Other things we can do here, this is a really simple rhythm, so the most complex thing that's happening in this is an 8th note. This is represent the tempo. 512 ticks, I would say, would be an 8th note, but as far as Finale is concerned, it's a quarter note. Okay, that's fine. When my music gets more complicated, I can take advantage of some of these other setups here. And when I say OK for that and send it on for notation, here's what's been playing. Again, the 8th note is the most complicated rhythm. This section right here is when it was playing all the notes of the scale. Then it went into a period, if we can find the scroll bar here, where it should be all notes with no accidentals. I don't see it, but we collected, how many pages is that? We collected 6 pages of beautiful notation just while we were playing with the music. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Come back again.